Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Are you looking for a way to go deeper with Crazy Cool Family? We have 2 amazing resources for you. We took the foundations of our book and turned them into guides. The 2 guides are called Building Family Relationships and Creating Family Culture. We believe going through the guides will take your family to the next level. Each guide has 6 sessions and focuses on building relationships and creating culture. The guides are made for individuals, marriages, small groups, and even men's or women's ministries. Click the link in the show notes to purchase your guides today. Do you have questions? Do you want to buy in bulk for your community? Just email us at info@crazycoolfamily.com for more info.
Well, welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast. Don here today with Leanne Mancini. Hi, Leanne.
Hi, Don.
Well, and welcome. We're just super excited to have Leanne on. I was trying to remember how we met. I don't remember exactly. Do you remember how we met?
Well, I think I came across your parenting guides, which I love. They're outstanding. And from there, I contacted you, and I had you on my podcast to talk about your resources. So I think that's how it all started.
So you just found us. Wow, that's why I don't remember it, because usually, that's so awesome that we're going to talk about your materials today. Particularly your book, and that's and so we're super excited about that. So, Leanne, quick introduction of you. Give them a little bit of context of who you are and how you came to do all the children's and parent stuff that you do today.
Oh, well, thank you. I am married with 2 grown adult children. I live in South Florida, and my journey started when my children were little. We couldn't find any resources that taught them how to live out the biblical principles we were trying to instill. We found Bible studies, Bibles for children, not Bible studies, but Bible story books.
Right.
And I said, well, we need to find resources where they actually see the characters acting out the problem and going to Jesus in prayer, and how to be kind and compassionate to others. So I wrote the stories just to read to my children. Long story short, years later, they are in 7 Christian children. I wrote 7 Christian children's books based upon different things that children face when they're little. And then they were made into an animation series, which is on Right Now Media.
And that's called, that series is called Sea Kids, right?
Yes, SEAKIDS. Mm-hmm. And it's on Right Now Media, PureFlix, Answers TV, Minnow, and Yippee. And now I'm just doing things to support parents as well, to educate them between the resources for the kids and helping parents. I hope that we can change the way we're raising the next generation.
And you're a professor, right?
Yes, I teach at South Florida Bible College and Theological Seminary in Deerfield Beach.
Got a few degrees, as I remember, right? Got a few PhDs or doctors of ministries or one of those, right?
Well, I have a BA in Religious Studies from Regent University, and then I have 3 masters, 2 from Knox Theological Seminary and 1 from Trinity Evangelical Divinity School.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I knew you were very smart, had a lot of degrees. I couldn't remember all of them, but and also you've written a book called Raising Kids to Follow Christ. And that's the book we're going to talk about a lot today. It is this. So parents, you guys have listened to Crazy Cool Family a lot, and a lot of you that are on the podcast. This is if you take what we teach to parents in Crazy Cool Family, the concepts and the things we want you to be as a parent, a lot of what Leanne does in this book, she does that too, but she also gives you some great handholds to implement this in your family. So think about taking the concepts that you're seeing in Crazy Cool Family that we inspire you to be as a parent, and then giving some practical ways to implement that with your children. And so, as I'm reading, I'm like, she has been reading our mail. Now, neither one of us have ever, we just are introduced. And so we've never really read each other's stuff except for this year. But man, a lot of the stuff in there, you'll see, oh, that's a Crazy Cool Family concept. Oh, that's a Crazy Cool Family I was like, wow, that's so crazy. And so it inspires us because Leanne is a very smart family person who's been doing this for years, and we have a lot of the same. So she's also a mom and just a teacher and everything. So so Leanne, when we one of the things that let's just dive into the book a little bit and talk about some of the things in there. One of the things that we're hearing from parents a lot is just this idea of discipline. You know, in so many ways, the kids are running the roost. And even the government's giving kids more and more power, and then we've got gender things, all the stuff that's happening. How do you control? And yet, what we talk about at Crazy Cool Family, and what you talk about in your book is, in this world that we're living in, it is very possible to have kids that have self-discipline and self-motivation. So help us practically through your book, like help parents get there. How do we get there? How do we help a student? How do we help a child at every age? I'm assuming you're talking about 3-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 12-year-olds have self-control and self-motivation.
Yeah, that's really a large topic because it's so important, and it's like you said, at every stage. So for little ones, I think it's good to teach them how to be patient, because when you teach them how to have patience when they're little, this is the first step of really having self-control. One of the first steps of having self-control, because little ones are very impatient and impulsive. I think I share in the book, one way to do that with younger children is to take a piece of candy or cake and put it on the table. Say, we're going to do an experiment. We're going to put this candy and the cake cake, whatever you choose, on the table. And I'm going to walk away, and I want you just to wait. I don't want you to eat it. You might have seen this before on TV, parents doing this for fun. But teaching them to wait, and then you come back and you reward them. Anytime you can help delay self-gratification for a child, teaches them how to be patient and how to have self-control.
Yeah. And so what you're saying there is that purposefully putting them in situations to where you're trying to train something. One of the things you just said is that patience is the beginning of self-control. That's interesting. Both of those are fruits of the Spirit, but also, almost manufacturing situations. Overall, do you believe that's a good parenting technique, to look to manufacture or look to see how you could create or allow situations to happen for your kids?
Yes, it's excellent. It also goes with role playing for the older kids too. Role
Let's
play.
talk about role playing for a minute.
Okay, well, with role play, say your child has a problem at school and they come home. First thing they do, they say, "Mom, I don't know what to do. This happened, blah, blah, blah." Before you answer them, the first thing you want to do is ask them, "Well, what do you think? What do you think you should do? Or how do you think you should handle it?" That helps them to become critical thinkers. Then you can go ahead and role play out the scenario when they go back to talk to the teacher or talk to the friend or whatever it may be. So you prepare them ahead of time. And for the little ones, we were just talking about making the scenarios with them, the situations happen. You want to prepare them. It's like preparing them ahead of time to know what to do. This really, it becomes a habit. The more you do it, the more it'll become a habit for them, so that they're not reactive in everything. When they react, they lose self-control.
Oh, that's so good. Parents, this is gold. I mean, I want to dig into this a little bit. You talked about what was the creating critical thinkers?
Yes.
Okay, so, and what I want parents to hear about this is that you create critical thinkers by teaching your kids to think by asking questions rather than telling. What she said was, before you tell them what to do, you ask questions. So, and then you role play. So like one of the things we've been doing a lot of Crazy Cool Family is talking about how here's how you believe, here's what you do, and then here's what you say. So what you're saying is, first of all, we believe that we need to create critical thinkers. And so what we do is role play what we say. So take a parent through, continue that scenario. Your kid comes in with a problem. Maybe they're making bad grades or something. Instead of lecturing them, which is our default response, which works so well, as we know, then what would be the alternative for that parent?
Well, critical thinking, when you teach your children how to become critical thinkers, that also helps them to have self-control,
Right?
because we take a moment and they think about the situation before they answer. But so your child comes to you with a problem, and then you ask them, well, what do you think should be done? By the way, Jesus asked over 300 questions. He used this, in the Bible. You see
And
Jesus often.
particularly with his disciples, right?
Yes, exactly. And so when they answer you, this allows you to either affirm that they're correct in their assessment of how they should handle it, and you can praise that for them, praise that, and then they get excited, and they're happy, they're motivated to do more and to remember that moment. Or you can address the situation better because you know that where they're lacking knowledge, what area they're lacking knowledge in. So it's a better way to respond to them. You'll have more information to understand what they're actually thinking.
So what you're telling that parent is, if I'm hearing you right, is you can speak into the situation. You're not saying don't speak into the situation, but what if you wait to speak into the situation till you hear first how your child is viewing the situation, right?
Yes, and a warning: don't do it all the time, because if your child comes to you with a question and you're always saying to them, well, what do you think? They're not going to want to come to you and ask you a question, probably, because they're just going to be frustrated with that. So do it only when it's really something that's really important.
And so other times, what would you recommend they do when the child comes to them with a problem?
Well, if it's not something serious, I would sit down and discuss with them. Say, well, I just want to know, do you want me to answer for this reason or for that reason? Maybe just find out what they're trying to find out. Or if it's
Yeah.
something really simple, you can simply give them your opinion.
And so, yeah,
And
so
always make sure that you ask them, well, did you pray to God? Did you pray to the Lord before you came to me? Always pray and ask God to give you guidance. And then you can share what what you think he has told you, how the Holy Spirit has told you how to handle the situation too. Always bring God or his Holy Spirit or Jesus into every circumstance.
So if I'm hearing you right, then, when a kid brings you an issue, and really one of the things you said is that when we prepare our kids and that then they will have self-control, that when they react, they lose self-control, but when they are prepared, they have a better chance of having self-control, right?
Yes.
And the way you do that as a parent is not it's not that you never lecture or you never tell them what to do. I think, well, a lecture is what we call lecture is a repetitive, tedious reprimand. I think those are great things to stay away from in that definition, but instruction is good. It's just a matter of really holding back with instruction until you listen. Is that kind of a summary of the principle?
Absolutely. As parents, we need to listen more and not lecture. And by listening, they know that we're a safe place to come to with their problems. They're validated. There's the situation they're facing is they see that they're validated, that we value what's going on in their lives and we want to help them. We give them, for little ones especially, you get down to eye level. You
Mm-hmm.
look at them eye level. Maybe you hold their hand. There's so much we can do, and it's all about forming a strong parental relationship with your child. You want to be the safe place that they come to for when they have a problem, when they don't have a problem, no matter what it is.
So you would say that
love is important.
you would say that safety, and we're not talking about physical safety here, although that's a great thing for a parent to do is help your child be physically safe. We're talking about relational safety.
Emotional safety.
Yeah, emotional safety. That's another great way to put it. And that really so parents, one of the things you can take out of this, I think, is that having emotional safety, having that safe haven is one key to helping your child develop self-control, to be because when you are safe, then one, you're going to hear about it, but you're also going to be able to help them, train them to become critical thinkers by your listening, right?
Yes, yes. And also there's a difference, but I don't really believe in a lot of self-esteem because that's looking inward at self.
Hmm.
Okay. And so if you're always looking at yourself, when someone offends you, that can cause a problem for you. But if you're others centered, which is what we're supposed to be, others centered, putting others before our needs, you don't get as frustrated as much or upset if things don't go your way. And so that also helps you to have self-control.
And wouldn't you say too, being others centered starts with it's not self-esteem, but it's identity. That
Yes.
it's not about I'm good because I'm an amazing person or whatever, but it's like God created this amazing person and I'm living that out. I mean, so wouldn't you say that, as you're listening, you're actually creating, you're not, I love well, let me just ask you as a learned person that has, what's the difference then between self-esteem, which we hear our kids need self-esteem, our kids, and identity? How would you say those are different?
Well, esteem means to lift someone up, okay, to make them feel important or acknowledged or whatever. But identity is finding your identity in Christ. And Christ did not lift himself. He lift himself up. He was very humble. He put others before him always. And that's what we want our kids to be. If you teach your child to be other centered, oh my goodness, that is just so important for them because life doesn't affect them negatively if they're always putting others centered. Now, I don't mean for them to become a doormat,
Right.
people to walk on them, but they look out for the needs of others. Like I said, for the bully, we talked about the bully before we started the podcast here. You look at the bully differently. You look at friends who have problems that come at you negatively. You look at them differently. You try to understand why they're acting that way. And that helps you to have self-control, helps you to be humble. And actually, when you become more like Christ, the happier you are in life. And we can
Yeah.
teach children that very early.
And so others centered, and you back up to the bullying part. Like, I think this is a great, and it's not just about bullying, but I think this is an example of how to interact with your child in a difficult situation. So a child's being bullied at school. My third grade child is being bullied at school by, the big kid on the playground. How do you tell a parent to handle that? Most parents would say, oh, we've got to go to the school. We've got to get this stopped. We got to talk to their parents. We got to control the behavior that's happening on the outside because I have to protect my child, my third grade child. But I think I was reading in your book, you got a little bit different approach to that possibly.
Well, I think for younger children, especially if it's just tattling, or teasing, or just, little, whatever it is on the playground, they feel they're being bullied. Someone's not being nice to them. You sit down and you say, maybe Johnny, Mark is being that way towards you because something's wrong at home. And so he's taking it out on you because maybe he feels safe, taking out his anger. Maybe he's angry. It's really an issue he has. It has nothing to do with you. So just be kind and loving. Now, if it gets physical or there's something more serious with an older child, then you have to, intervene and talk to maybe the teacher. But we shouldn't, well, let me just back up. Because when you teach a child to look at a bully with different lenses, that it's their problem, the bully's problem, and not their own, that just makes the whole situation, less for them. They're not so upset about it because they realize it's really not them it's nothing they did. It's the bully has a problem. So we need to pray
Right.
for the bully. We need to pray for them because we're supposed to pray for our enemies. The other thing is don't always rescue your child from a situation, from being bullied, because you want them to learn how to be resilient, how to be able to take things that are unfair in the world and be resilient, to bounce back up. You don't want them to have the mentality.
And I'm sure a lot of parents are super scared by that because they think I'm going to send my child in to get beat up or, things like that. How do you tell them to be kind to that bully while still protecting themselves on that playground as a young man?
Yeah, well, most bullies, they just want to get a reaction out of the other child. So you teach your child, first of all, not to engage negatively. If you can walk away, walk away. Simply say to the child, look, I'm sorry you feel that way. I really like you. I also said, invite that child over for a play date.
Yeah.
Seen this happen before where the parent will invite the child over, for a play date or go to the movies or play in the playground, and they become friends.
Yeah.
So you do everything that, what Christ would do.
Well, and really it goes back to you're teaching your third grader in this case to be others focused.
Yes.
And you're building them up to say, so often they think that the bully's issue is about because they are something less. The child, our child is something less, but you're also building identity into them of, man, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It really is about you. You're an amazing person. God's created you. It's really the bully's issue. And so our job is to take our amazingness into them, into their lives. And I just want parents to see that, because every situation, you talk about this in your book, that every piece of adversity that happens with our kids is really an opportunity. And I love that. We talk about that a lot, that discipline is an opportunity. Discipline situations are an opportunity to invest in building the kingdom heart in your child, right?
Yes. You want to transform their heart. My daughter was bullied. So she would come home in tears, Allie said this, and Allie pulled my hair. And I would simply sit down with her and I'd say, Lena, you have to overlook these things. You cannot take them personally. You cannot let them bother you. You have a beautiful spirit inside of you. You're loving and you're kind, and you have a lot of friends. Look at the many friends you have, and don't let one bully dictate how you're going to feel that day. And I would send my children off to school and I would say, I wouldn't say to them, you know, have a fun day today. I would say, be kind today. Always be kind. And I think when you start doing that when they're younger, you just practice these things over and over. It sticks with them. My son would stick up for one boy who was being bullied when he came to the table to eat with them at lunchtime. And the kids said, no, he can't sit there. And my son said, yes, he can. He's my friend. Well, then all the boys liked him because my son liked him. And my son, he was a very popular little boy. The teacher said every little girl wanted to be his girlfriend and every little boy wanted to be his best friend. Well, that mother called me up and she said, I want you to know the kindness that your son showed my son was wonderful today. My son got into the car and he was crying. He was so happy. For the first time, he was being accepted because he was an overweight child. Mm-hmm. So teaching your children to be kind and be other-centered, kids see that and they're drawn to that.
Yeah, and it really is. And let's, you talk about in the book a lot how it really is, parenting is and you just mentioned it a little while ago, that parenting is super relational. It is, we think about, I need to make sure my kid's in church, and that's good. That we both value the local church, or I need to sit down and indoctrinate my kid in the scriptures. Again, a parent Bible study or family Bible studies are good, but really the way that transformation happens, it goes back to Deuteronomy 6, isn't it? Along the way, you have these. Explain to parents a little bit about how, relationally, conversationally, you build a spiritual foundation in your child at every age.
Yes. Deuteronomy 6, verses 4-9, train them up. Train them up in the way they should go is Proverbs. People think that is the Bible verse, Proverbs, but that's not a promise. That's not a guarantee. Proverbs are not a promise or guarantee. But Deuteronomy 6, 4-9, when you walk along the path, when you rise up, when you lay down, mold and press these principles, these biblical doctrines in your children. Well, how do you do that? It's not by just reading Bible stories to them. It's by living that out every day, whatever you do. I talk about preparing the soil from age from the womb to age 3, we prepare the soil. How do you do that? You volunteer at a daycare center when you're pregnant, the Christian daycare center or the church nursery, and you let the fetus at 18 weeks can hear the sounds. Let them hear their children singing about Jesus. When they're a toddler, instead of saying, let's take a nap, you say, let's take a Sabbath's rest. Now, they don't understand the full meaning of Sabbath, but you're building a vocabulary and a category in their mind for the term Sabbath. Later, when they're 4 to 7, when you're teaching them about Sabbath, you're planting seeds into rich soil that grow deep roots. There's so many things. This book is all about application, a lot about application.
It is. It's very much an application book.
So there's a lot of things you can do. The experts say you never know when a child will grasp a biblical concept. So don't hold back on using biblical terms, salvation, redemption, whatever it is, because you never know when they're going to grasp that understanding. At 6 months old, they understand more than they can articulate. There's so much more we can do. And that foundation is built in Deuteronomy. Talk about that foundation. It's built by age 7. Then we build upon that foundation. There's so many things we can do, and you have fun doing it.
One little nugget I want to bring out here that you just said, and I think that this is true at every age, parents, and is that children understand more than they can communicate at every age. So at 7, they understand more than they can communicate. And so what that means is that you can talk to them about, even though it will seem like they don't understand it ever completely, and they may not be able to articulate it back, you are still putting concepts in their head. Suzanne talks a lot about how kids are always building a database in their brains, and they're always building. It increases in complexity as they get older, but that's why the 3-year-old asks why. It's why then the teenager comes back and asks why in deeper ways, because they're building that database. And so really along the way, you're looking for, and this really does change your parenting, because instead of wanting to lecture, control, talk down to all the things that we do that we know inherently we shouldn't do, we believe differently, and we start to invest in that relationship and drip into those concepts. And over time, we find that takes hold, right?
Yes. And more is caught than taught. I know your listeners probably have heard that, but it's so true. How we live in front of them, how we speak in front of them, that goes into their brain and into their hearts and into their minds. And at 5 years old, 90% of their brain is fully developed. Worldview starts to formulate at 15 months of age, and it's pretty much solidified by age 13. You have that short window to pour into your children, and you have to have a loving relationship. And you do that by being positive and give affirmation, and you discipline them well, because the statistics have shown that parents who do not discipline their children, the children later feel that the parents didn't care enough about them to discipline.
Well, so then, and you talk about this in your book too. So, okay, I'm a parent who I didn't sing songs to my child in the womb. I didn't. Maybe I'm just now coming to Christ later age. I didn't work at the daycare. I didn't do all those things when my kids were little. Now they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I haven't built that foundation. Is there hope for those parents?
Absolutely. I didn't do half the things that are in my book. That was through all my researching the brightest minds in children's spirituality and condensing it into this book for parents. So say I'll have parents say, I have a teenager, and they're not listening, and we didn't do these things, and we're having trouble in the home now. And I tell them, you simply have a family meeting, and you sit down and you apologize to your child first. You say, look, I want to apologize because I'm understanding that I haven't been doing the things I should have been doing, but we're going to change how we're living in this home. And you write a family mission statement, and do this with your children. Have them involved in the family mission statement. You're going to go to church. You're going to volunteer here. You're going to read the Bible on Friday nights. You're going to whatever it is. You have a family mission statement. I have an example of that in the book.
Right.
And now, and you sit down and you also write a disciplinary contract. And it states what is expected of the children and what are the consequences that they earn for being disobedient. We have to understand, our children have to understand these consequences are not something we're just doling out. They earn those consequences for the behavior. And then I'll have parents come back and say, well, we did that, but my teenager's still not wanting to listen to me. And I say, you sit down with your teenager and you say, look, we did this. And there's 3 reasons that we wrote a family mission statement and we discipline you. And we have this disciplinary contract because we have to be accountable to God for how we raise you. We're doing this because we love you. And we're doing this because we want to keep you safe. Those are 3 things that a child cannot push back on. And then if they don't obey, then you say, I tell the parents, children don't have rights. Now they have rights to food, shelter, clothing, but they don't have rights to the computer, to a cell phone, keys to the car on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And you start taking away those privileges and you'll see how fast they will turn around and be obedient because they don't want to lose those privileges. You have to be the parent and you do it in a loving, affirmative way.
Yeah. At Crazy Cool Family, we talk about with responsibility comes freedom. That freedom is earned. It's not a right that, and freedom means that you have the freedom to, if you need to stay out a little later or you need to have a cell phone or you need to have access to things. Those are freedoms that we give to our kids. And so those freedoms need to have, if the child cannot handle those freedoms, then they can't have them, and so because it's our job as parents to, like you say, protect them, keep them safe.
Yes. And with little ones too, I think we're so used to yelling across the room, Johnny, put your shoes on, Johnny, put your shoes on, Johnny, put your shoes on. And Johnny just ignores that because the first time you told him is not a command, it's a suggestion if you have to keep telling him. So with the little ones, you sit down and you look at them in the eye and you say, Johnny, I want you to put your shoes away now. And then you have Johnny repeat that back to you. Yes, Mom, put my shoes away now. And you stand there and you watch him put his shoes away. We have to make sure our children understand what they're being told to do. And we need to make sure they do it right away. Obedience is not a delayed obedience is disobedience.
And even, I love that. I love the idea of getting down on their level, looking them in the eye, making sure you're clear. So often our kids don't obey. And it's kind of like with Crazy Cool Family, we put all this material out and I talk to people sometimes and they don't have a clue what we're doing because they haven't seen it enough. There is this, in parenting, there's that too, that we think we're being clear with our kids, but especially with the younger ones, but even with the older ones, so often we're talking to them as we're looking at our phones, as we're distracted ourselves. Well, how in the world are they going to be? But, when we make them important and when we look them in the eye and when we treat them with respect, I want to finish this. We almost didn't go over, but I love it in your book about how you create respect and honor. And I think I want to kind of make sure we don't miss this because I think it's very awesome the way you did it in your book. But so, and I believe respect and honor and obedience and relationship all go together. So along with this topic, how do you, even 3-year-old, 7-year-old, 12-year-old, 18-year-old, how do you create that respect and honor so that the child honors you and does what you want them to do and follows?
Yes, Don, thank you. It is so important. I have 2 chapters. I have one chapter, how to teach them how to be obedient. Okay. And then another chapter, how to discipline. Because once you teach them how to be obedient, now you can teach how to discipline your child when they're not being obedient.
Right.
And I see that honor, respect, goes hand in hand. And the first thing, you teach honor by modeling honor.
Oh,
And
wow,
respect
that's good.
by
That's good.
modeling respect. You have to be respectful to your children. And the difference between
Okay,
respect,
but stop there. So what does that mean? I think that's huge, and I don't want to go past it. Like, what does it mean to be respectful to your children? People say, I'm the authority. They need to know I'm the authority, but yet there's what would you say to that parent that is having trouble being respectful to their child?
well, you don't scream at them. If there's something that you need to discipline, like I said, you talk to them in a calm voice, even if you have to take time out because you're angry. We talk about taking a break. It's
Right,
not
right.
time, it's taking a break. It's gathering your emotions, calming yourself down, going to your child and talking to them in a respectful, loving tone. You want to be firm and loving. And so teach and let them see you being respectful to other people, how you engage with other people as well. Respect is more of watching what the parent's doing and listening how the parent is talking to me, that teaches a child respect.
So, like, even in your book, I was going back to that. It says the son of a friend of mine is one of the most respectful employees. He's kind to others. He opens doors. He doesn't talk over anyone else. I need to work on that one. But anyway, shows up on time. He does his task without being asked. And someone said, how did you learn that? He said, it's just how my parents raised me to show respect. And so if we respect them first, what I'm hearing from you is they will respect us. So often when a parent asks us, my child's yelling at me, we're like, well, do you yell at your child? And it's
Yes.
like, because if you do, you're creating the environment in which they can yell at you, or they think they can because they're just following your example, right?
Yes. For example, you're standing there and somebody comes up and your child's next to you and they say, "Oh, hi, nice to see you. How are things going?" You say, "Fine, thank you. I'd like you to meet my son. This is my son, Guy. Guy, say hello. Shake the gentleman's hand." Teaching those things, making
Right.
sure that your child's not being ignored because this adult is coming towards you. I get so many compliments on my children, how respectful, they're such respectful adults to everyone. And again, it's so important. And there's a difference between respect and honor. Honor is when a child goes above and beyond what they're told to do. This is how you honor someone. So, say, example, your daughter knows that her chore is to do the dishes after dinner. So she finishes doing the dishes, but then she goes to the dryer and she pulls out the clothes and she folds them and puts them away. Now she's doing something honorable. She's going above and beyond what is her normal calling or normal chore and showing honor to her parents by doing something above and beyond. This is teaching children how to be honorable, how to be, again, other centered, how to have self-control, how to be resilient.
Right.
These are all important, and you can teach children how to do this, but you have to engage daily in these principles, engage in instilling these principles and acting them out and living them out for yourself is so important.
And so good. And as we wrap up here, I just want to tell parents, a lot of times when we talk about these things, so often parents think, oh my goodness, I'm not doing this. And oh my goodness, I'm not doing that. And so I want to end with this, and then we'll end with this talk. Then we'll talk about your materials and some things, how they can get in touch with you. It's parents, think about it like this. You're good parents. You love your kids. You're working hard for them and you're taking them to the activities. So what Leanne's book is going to do is help you go from good to great. Don't think about you being a bad parent. You're not a bad parent. You love your kids. You want the best for them. You're trying things. What Leanne gives you here are some real handholds, if you will, and some concepts that you can go from good to great to take your parenting to the next level. And so I just want to encourage you, one, to get the book, and then also just to read it with that attitude of it's not about, it's just about taking a next step. I believe, and I think, Leanne, you would agree with this, every parent can be excellent.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be the best you can. How do you do that? We do this, we plan for everything. We plan for vacations, we plan where we're going to go to school, we plan where we're going to live. Plan how you're going to be a parent. Be a purposeful parent. Educate yourself, learn all you can, and then you can apply these things. In the back of my book, there's a reference for the Bible. There's 312 Bible verses
Wow.
reference in this book, because you can do all these things, because your Deuteronomy 6:4-9. How do you train? How do you raise them when they rise, when they wake up in the morning, when they walk along the path, when they lie down? Every answer is in God's word.
Right. And all you've really done here, like we do, is you've packaged God's word in a way that gives them a clear understanding of, because the Bible doesn't talk a lot about family, because so many of these concepts that we need are just, they're about relationships, and it's just an extension of who we are as a believer.
It's about application. You want to transform your child's heart. This book will help you be a better parent, how you can transform your child's heart. I have a chapter on apologetics, how to teach your children how to defend their faith in a loving
Right.
manner. This is so important. That also helps to build their self-esteem.
Right.
Self-control.
Yeah.
When they understand why they believe, what they believe, and how to defend it. It's just, there's so many things we can do.
Well, it's a great book, and she's got other materials and resources, and it really is worthwhile. It is a book that you'll read and reread, because and going back, you were saying that you had to learn to be a parent. I always tell parents, I wish you could have seen me at year 5, because I was not good. I mean, I had great intentions, but man, I had a lot to learn, and I wish I had this book, because what you've done is you've packaged it in a way, it's similar to what we do with some of our guides, is that we've packaged it in a way that it's easy to learn, and it's easy to, but it is deep. So you'll go over and over it. It's one of those deals. There's certain books that you just need in your library. I think this is one of them that you will refer back to over and over again. It's called Raising Kids to Follow Christ. And then just tell us about tell them how to get in touch with you. We'll put this in the show notes as well, but how do you want them to get in touch with you?
Yes. Well, I'd love the tagline. It's Raising Kids to Follow Christ, instilling a lifelong trust in God.
There you go.
Today, children don't know who they can trust, what is true, what is not true. So we want to instill in them the principles that we can trust God, we can trust his word, we can trust his character. You can go to raisingchristiankids.com.
Okay.
And you can see all our resources for our See Kids products, our Scripture Bear. All my proceeds are donated to our nonprofit. This is a mission God has placed upon my heart to equip parents to help children. We need to change the way we're raising our children, and we need to raise this next generation to be strong in their faith and place them in the 4 pillars of society: the government, academia, the media, and the church, if we're going to see change in our country and in our world.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, just thank you for your commitment to family. Thank you for, all the work you're doing. Just, I love it that you just have a heart for the kingdom. Like us, you believe, like we do, every family can win. And so often parents, and what Leanne does with this book especially is she gives you some tools that increase your odds of success. There's no guarantee, there's no formula, there's nothing, God's word, it's a relational deal that we are going after, but man, the things she's teaching you in here will help you have a better chance at success if you apply them in your home. So thanks, Leanne, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, Leanne. And as always, parents, go be crazy. crazycoolfamily.com.